Hey y'all, it's Struggle. So, for whatever reason, a bunch of you want me to react to this AC-130 attacks Washington, D.C. from Olympus Has Fallen. Uh, it's not going to be a cold react. I've seen the movie. I've seen the clip on YouTube. So, I'm familiar with the scene. I actually have gotten quite a few laughs out of it myself on my own time. I'm pretty sure on one of those like initial clips, I actually have a comment on there somewhere. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. This is gonna be a fucking wild ride. So off the bat, like it's definitely a slick C-130, like it appears to be when it first shows up. So yeah, here comes the intercept for it. Yeah, and so like right there, he's like unidentified flight, and you're telling me that they didn't intercept this dude fucking like another 15, 20 miles out, 30. This has nothing to do with my react. Yada yada, dialogue. I'm going to say something completely unrelated to what you were saying, and then I'm going to remind you about the fact that I have I have an enemy that has a million-man army. He waits for the final warning to shoot him down. How courteous. Acknowledged. Bird. Anti-aircraft. Seems like the wrong call for an air-to-air fight. But what I don't know. I don't know anything about fucking fighter jet jockey talk. I'm pretty sure he would have called something like bogey, to be honest. Oh fuck. I feel like I'm messing up my brevity terms. I'm pretty sure it was bogey. God, why does everything fucking Hollywood do so cringy? Yeah, dude, grab those snipers. I'm sure that'll help. Alright, here we go. Missile battery. Completely unnecessary buzz of the buildings. You know, almost clipped that fucking roof of the top of the other one. And for what purpose, I don't know. And how many fucking planes fly over DC every day and everyone's acting like, well, I was flying kind of low, never mind. No, dude, they were just fucking picnicking. What's your problem? Oh, this sucks to suck. Dude, take cover. What the fuck are you guys doing? Is everyone just running out into the open? I mean, that's a pretty narrow street for that thing to be shooting into. I don't even know if it had an angle of attack on that. Why was his flare switch, like, up here? It would have been on the, like, it would have been for the co-pilot on the right-hand side, for the pilot behind him, the pickle switch. But usually the engineer took care of it, or whoever's scanning. Which is where Gerald Butler fucking proceeds to tell everyone to have common sense and get the fuck down. Yep, stay down, don't move. I'm gonna be another guy that just gets out in the middle of the fucking street. Dude, literally, he's the only one with common sense. I mean, those guys were taking cover, so... Alright, so that's like the only redeemable part of this scene, is this gunship entering this pylon turn. Although, I'm not sure what those 7.62 miniguns are supposed to do to, you know, the White House, which is basically a bunker. They just lost a ton of their security when they could have just fucking hunkered in place. Why does he have to give clearance on a clearly hostile aircraft? I mean, I would assume they would have gotten clearance to shoot this thing down before he got anywhere close to it. And once that tail's gone, that thing would have flipped over immediately. This long, drawn-out plane crash is overly dramatic when this thing would have just went whop. Well, they say any crash you walk away from is a good landing, but I don't think they're walking away from that. Okay, let's go into the comment section. I'm sure people have some interesting things to say. But before we get there, off the top of my head, I've been to Washington, D.C. I went a couple years ago. I know for certain that the Washington Monument's only like 500 to 600 feet tall. And at several points in this clip, the C-130, this gunship, is flying below the Washington Monument. So this thing is flying way lower than any gunship it has any right to be. Another thing is, why the gun ports? I get if it's supposed to be like a spy shock reveal kind of thing that Hollywood was going for. Like, oh, look, the gun ports are opening. Oh, look, there's guns there. Which is cool. Like, I get it. There's a point of surprise for that. But then these guns are trainable afterwards. And these guns had, these gun ports slid open. These things extended, and then they started being trainable. That is like 3 points of like engineering failure that happened. What happens if the fucking gun ports don't open? Is this? I've only seen 2 crew members on this plane. Is the fucking co-pilot gonna run back there and fucking winch those fucking ports open? What happens if those don't open? Like, like that's when they waited to the last moment for the last warning to open those gun ports. If they didn't open, those jets would have just flown back and just shot them down, and then bam, their whole fucking mission there would have been fucking in flames. It's just unnecessarily complicated engineering. You have gun ports, then they extend, and then they're trainable. And it's North Korea. This is obviously not a gunship variant that the Air Force actually flies. This is whatever North Korea happened to fucking invent for this movie. So that's the craziest thing about this clip. And it didn't even happen on scene. Where the fuck did North Korea get this? Did they design this in North Korea? If so, how the fuck did they get it over to the States without us fucking finding out about it? If they laundered the money over to the States and bought a C-130 and restored it, and then put these guns on there, how the fuck did no one find out about this? How did they do the years of engineering and testing to make sure this thing would actually succeed in its mission without being found out? That's the mind-blowing thing, is because obviously this is not a variant of gunship that exists. There's no gunship that has guns on both sides or sliding port covers. And that's another thing, is these fucking pilots are flying, shooting the guns, aiming these trainable guns, and also defeating threats to the aircraft. That's a lot of fucking tasks for 2 dudes. I don't think 2 dudes could pull it off. And I certainly don't think 2 North Korean pilots could pull it off. They don't have the amount of training, especially if they're trying to do this subterfuge. However they got this fucking C-130 over here, I doubt they'd have the kind of fucking flight hours or training to be able to deal with, defeating the missiles of a F-22. It's that's unrealistic. Damn, they got lucky with that first flare punch though. Fucking defeated 2 fucking missiles from an F-22. I mean, I think that the shooting was on the trims for the yoke, and the flare dispenser is up here. Weird small stuff like that. Let's look at some of the comments, see what they had to say. I think I'm running into the ground here. If you ever feel useless, just think about the police that tried to shoot down an AC-130 with a pistol. It sounds like a great nitpick until you realize this thing was fucking flying at 500 feet. And the fucking, it's a C-130 is not a small plane. If a gunship's flying that low, by all means, whip out a fucking pistol and shoot at it. I mean, okay, whoa. Let me back up. If an AC-130 is flying that low, shooting at civilians in the States, feel free to whip out a pistol and shoot at it. Otherwise, probably not a good idea to do that. Funny thing about this is that the pilots of the AC-130 aren't the ones who control the guns. Depends on what time frame you're talking about. I mean, these are North Koreans flying this non-existent variant of gunship. The first AC-47 and AC-119 gunships had fixed guns, where the pilots were the ones who controlled them. Well, I say controlled, but the guns were fixed. They didn't train. But the pilots shot them because they're the ones who were maneuvering the aircraft because they're fixed guns and they had to maneuver the aircraft to the point, once they had lined up the target to shoot. So this guy thinks it's a great nitpick. It's not. If you're flying fixed or you're apparently North Korea with super engineering. I think it's kind of funny that just the thought of an AC-130 even getting within 100 miles of Washington, D.C. is even possible. Another great-ass nitpick that doesn't stand up. Why do people, Andrews Air Force Base is 11 miles from Washington, D.C. Do you think that no military aircraft with lethal capabilities flies around Washington, D.C. besides these fucking F-22s? I mean, fucking helos and shit going there. What is it? Air Force, what is it? Navy? Marine One? Yeah, I think they got Marine One in there. I'm sure they've got some other helos and stuff. The point is the gunship has flown close to Washington, D.C. before. I haven't ever heard of us flying directly into the airspace, but you think we're really just going to avoid Washington, D.C. by hundreds of miles just because we're a gunship? No. If our fucking flight path is taking us somewhere, then we're going to go as straight as possible. We're not going to take this big old loop to get around Washington, D.C. like this. We're a part of the fucking military. We have the clearance to fly close to Washington, D.C. We just put in a fucking, our flight plan, justify why we're flying close to it, and it's no biggie. We all had fucking TS and secret clearances. They fucking trust us. It's just, this is the thing I'm seeing here, is people saying oh, could you believe an AC-130 getting this close to Washington, D.C.? It's well, yeah, but we actually have gotten pretty close because we're a military aircraft with clearances. We put in flight plans. Yeah, it's not that fucking crazy to believe that we could get within 100 miles of D.C. Gunner should have swapped to the 105mm howitzer. Probably a meme comment, but this obviously didn't have those. In reality, the thing would have shot down way before it came inside Washington. Perhaps. I mean, there's no telling. I don't know anything about Andrews Air Force Base's mission, how they deal with intercepting, how long they wait before they decide that the threat is terminal. This guy thinks he's got a great nitpick. 2 F-22s can't take out an AC-130, but 1 F-22 can take down an AC-130. Where's that logic? Dude, it's clear they fucking had the element of surprise in this scene. Before those ports opened up, this looked like a slick C-130, and they were doing an intercept, trying to get the fucking pilot's attention to be like, hey, you're not supposed to be going this way. And they're going to do what they can to get the pilot's attention. And it just so happens that this was North Korea. Big surprise. But yeah, the third F-22 obviously was okay, this is a fucking bogey. Let's fucking take it out. Thing is, those F-22s were shut down and ended up in gunship way before it ever had a chance to get that close to the capital. They didn't know it was a gunship. I don't know why that's so. Did these people not see this port open up and these guns extend? Do they not have eyes? Why is this AC-130 shooting 9mm bullets? I'm pretty sure it's shooting 7.62. I don't know where he got the 9mm from. I mean, I guess those could be 20s, but I really doubt it. I don't even think fucking Hollywood's aware of what the 20s are. Are they seriously trying to shoot an AC-130, the Angel of Death, with a pistol? I mean, if that Angel of Death is flying at fucking 400, 500 feet, fucking whip that pistol out, bro. You might hit a fuel tank, you might hit the pilot, you might hit a fucking flight control. I mean, if they're flying that low, they're asking for it. I knew it. Well, I fucking said that, and I was about to segue into a story about how a Talon dude who was flying low levels almost got shot in the nuts. But I think I'll save him the embarrassment of telling that story. His nuts were intact, but I connected that in a really fucking weird way. This guy over here is scientifically breaking down the ballistics of what's creating a gaping hole in someone's chest, like Hollywood fucking knows anything about what they're fucking doing visually. Uh, don't dissect it that fucking minutely, as I say after doing a React video. Yeah. Well, well, I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So obviously, it's a dumb scene. I mean, you didn't need me reacting to it to tell you that. I mean, people love to roast this scene up and down. Most of the time, they don't know what they're talking about, but it's so obviously unrealistic that everybody can see that. Um, it's still fun. It's obviously actiony. Like obviously, this plane's flying low because Hollywood thinks it's more visually stunning to have planes flying low. I mean, it's not the first time I've watched a movie, and I think it was Midway, where the fucking planes are flying so low, and it's like if they flew like that really in World War II, they would have been all fucking destroyed. But that's the point is not to like completely dissect this stuff. I don't personally care too much. I think it's dumb. There's plenty of things to look at and groan, but I honestly am less annoyed by them getting it this wrong than I am by, say, the scene in Lone Survivor, where, you know, it was a really great scene. The gunship comes in, which was actually true to the fact that that actually happened in that mission, when it's supposed to be a somewhat realistic take on something that happened. And then the gunship starts, my variant of gunship starts shooting all three guns at the same time. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, it's when something like that happens, when you're expecting realism, and it's not. And it's not like I'm going to completely ding Hollywood. I'm sure they have military advisors. I don't know how often they really get in fucking touch with those dudes. But even if they did, how do you expect a random military advisor that might be from the fucking Marines to advise you on the AC130, how high it flies and all that shit? I don't know. It's a losing battle for realism on Hollywood's side, so I don't blame them too much. But I hate it more when they get in the ballpark and mess something up. But yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna try and make this too long. You all have a good time. Peace out.